The Jewish boy had barely set down his suitcase and revealed the six-pointed star that marked his identity when the German soldier filming him instantly lost his smile. The boy quickly used his suitcase to cover the star on his clothes again, then hurried away. Today was Joe's first day wearing the star. Because of that star on his chest, he didn't even dare go to school alone. To give himself courage, Joe had no choice but to follow an older Jewish neighbor to school. Fortunately, the teacher was a kind Frenchman who sternly demanded that the students stop discussing the star or any topics related to Jewish people. The teacher even showed these Jewish children extra care. Joe finally let go of his fear. He returned to being lively, joyful, cheerful and confident. He even performed a speech at home, mimicking the German leader who ordered the persecution, and his family burst out laughing at his silly act. But while Joe's family laughed, that German leader was putting pressure on his subordinates. He harshly ordered them to speed up the removal of Jewish people. The next day, Marshal MacLelland of Vichy France received orders from the German army demanding that he capture 100,000 Jewish people within 2 weeks and hand them over. But Vichy France didn't have that many foreign Jewish people. Marshal MacLelland only wanted to arrest some foreign Jewish refugees who had fled into France to satisfy the Germans, because protecting foreign Jewish refugees was not his responsibility, but guarding everyone who held French citizenship was his duty. To Marshal MacLelland, those Jewish people who had already become French citizens were genuine French people. Every French person was someone he should strive to protect. So he sent representatives to negotiate with the Germans. He tried to reduce the number of people they were required to capture, planning to hand over only those foreign Jewish refugees living in France. But to the German army, no matter what citizenship someone held, anyone who was Jewish should be removed. The German officer firmly told the French representative that if the French police could not complete the mission, he would personally lead the German troops to carry out the arrests in France. He believed that the unstoppable German army would finish the task in the shortest time and would surely exceed the quota. Seeing how unwavering and forceful the Germans were, the French representative could only request permission to open 5 additional police academies. Otherwise, France would refuse to hand over the Jewish records. In the end, the two sides reached an agreement. Vichy France traded the lives of 100,000 Jewish people for the right to open 5 police academies. Meanwhile, Joe was still immersed in his joyful childhood and the warmth of his happy family. Unaware that danger was quietly approaching, the Jewish boy excitedly told his mother that he had won first prize, but his mother only smiled faintly, showing none of the excitement Joe expected, and she didn't even offer a word of praise. When he got home, Joe finally understood why his mother was unhappy. It turned out that Joe's little sister, who loved dancing, had been expelled from her dance school because she was Jewish. Their father, outraged yet trying to comfort and encourage his daughter, said he was determined to send her to a very expensive private school. But as the German army issued more and more laws restricting the movement of Jewish people, the places they were allowed to enter grew fewer and fewer. Large numbers of Jewish people began losing their jobs. Their father also lost his job and had no income, and sending his daughter to a private dance school became a promise he could never fulfill. What Joe's family didn't expect was that a few days later, in the early hours before dawn, more than 20,000 French police officers suddenly gathered in an urgent assembly, fully armed. Each squad received a prepared list of people to arrest. Then more than 20,000 officers, holding those arrest lists, rushed toward their assigned targets. A massive roundup aimed at 100,000 Jewish people began. They charged into Jewish neighborhoods and followed the lists to arrest families door to door. Some Jewish families hid their children in the homes of kind neighbors. Some tried everything they could to flee with their children, but most Jewish people could not escape their fate and were arrested. To slow the police climbing the stairs, Joe poured all his beloved marbles across the steps, but this still couldn't help them escape the roundup, and the police entered their home with the list in hand. They had no choice but to quickly pack some clothes, basic items and food as ordered, then reluctantly follow the officers downstairs. This massive operation continued even after sunrise. Joe's family, along with the other arrested Jewish people, were sent to an abandoned racetrack. The once empty, enormous racetrack instantly filled with crowds. The adults sighed and frowned in despair, but the Jewish children laughed, shouted and jumped around because they discovered that being here meant they didn't have to go to school. Yet as time slowly passed, even the children lost their excitement. The sweltering heat drained the water from their bodies, but the police only gave them small amounts of water at set times. All the Jewish people waited listlessly for the next moment when they would be allowed to get water. Then they unexpectedly saw a pair of firefighters who came regularly to check the water pipes. The thirsty crowd erupted, raising their cups and begging the firefighters for water. The fire chief, who had worked for more than a decade, received such massive enthusiasm for the first time. Filled with a sense of justice, he decisively ordered his team to pull out the hoses and give them water, even without orders from his superiors. But his actions were blocked by the police chief in charge of guarding the place. Facing the furious police chief, the fire chief responded by relying on the authority of the rank he had earned over many years. The old saying about higher rank suppressing lower rank was fully displayed by the fire chief in that moment. The angry police chief could only watch as the firefighters sprayed water all over the square. The square was immediately filled with cheers and shouts praising the firefighters. The firefighters even turned into messengers. People quickly wrote notes and handed them over, hoping the firefighters could deliver them to their relatives and friends, to reassure his team so they could deliver the messages. The fire chief declared a one-day leave and even reimbursed their travel expenses. Although the firefighters' actions could not truly rescue these detained Jewish people, what they did brought emotional comfort to those who were frightened and anxious. Soon, the German officer arrived at the square accompanied by the French police chief. The arrested Jewish people immediately shouted insults at the German troops. Desperately venting their anger, a kind doctor hurried over to tell the German officer that the medical conditions here were terrible and that medicine was extremely scarce. He hoped the Germans would improve the conditions and supply more medicine as soon as possible, but the German officer coldly said there was no need, because the German army had already decided to send the tens of thousands of Jewish detainees here to camps in batches. The next morning, the Jewish people were taken in groups to the local train station. Under German arrangements, train after train packed with Jewish people began moving toward the camps. Joe's family was soon escorted to the station as well. To increase transport efficiency, there were no seats on the train. The cars were packed so tightly that there wasn't even room to sit. They could only stand like that all the way to the final stop. Soon they arrived at the Bon-la-Rolande camp, 100 kilometers south of Paris. At that moment, the Jewish people still thought they were going to be put into forced labor, unaware that they had already been placed on the Germans' removal list. Two newly built cremation furnaces awaited their arrival. The food in the camp was not only extremely small in quantity but also hard to swallow. During the first meal, young Joe felt so uncomfortable that he threw up. A French police officer happened to walk by and thought Joe was spitting at him, and he slapped Joe hard across the face. Seeing his son get hit, the father could no longer hold back and immediately rushed toward the officer. Seeing his son beaten, the furious father leapt up and charged at the officer, trying to defend his child. But the officer pulled out his gun, and justice existed only within the range of a bullet. The angry father could only hold his son tightly and watch helplessly as the officer walked away. The father began to regret not listening to his older daughter and fleeing France earlier. Now that they were already inside the camp, they had completely lost the right to choose and could only stand by the window staring blankly at the barbed wire. They stayed there for 3 weeks until one dawn, when the sky was just turning light. The police woke them up. The police were going to take them farther east. Sensing what awaited them, the Jewish women removed their valuable jewelry and threw it into the sewage pit. Even the mother threw in her beloved wedding ring. Joe tried to stop her, but she would rather throw it away than let others take it. Sure enough, before departure, the police confiscated all their valuables. They claimed they were keeping them safe and even registered the items, saying they would return everything when the Jewish people came back. Soon, many military trucks entered the camp. Dozens of trained German soldiers jumped out of the vehicles. They announced that because there were not enough vehicles, they would take only the women and men, and the Jewish children would remain in the camp to wait for further arrangements. When the women learned they were being separated from their children, they cried loudly in grief. The men pounded their chests in anger and despair. Seeing the women refuse to follow orders, the Germans raised their guns and tried to separate them by force. The Jewish men on the other side of the barbed wire protested as well, but the other side had weapons. Even though they screamed and resisted with all their strength, they still could only be forced apart. Joe was torn away from the protection of his parents and left completely alone. As the scene was about to fall into chaos, a burst of gunfire silenced everyone instantly. Joe said goodbye to his father like this, and the young Joe never imagined that this farewell would be forever. Joe had only just said goodbye to his father when his mother and sister were also gone from his life forever. The always strong Joe could no longer hold back, and he finally cried like a child. His mother, realizing her fate, took advantage of a moment when the police weren't watching, suddenly turned around and rushed toward Joe.
Tu dois vivre, Joe, tu m'entends? Ne reste pas ici, tu dois t'enfuir. Jure-le-moi, jure-le-moi.
Even though his mother was taken away, her words kept echoing in Joe's ears, and he became determined to find a way to escape. Joe stared firmly into the distance, stayed silent for a few seconds, and then made up his mind to break out. He stood up angrily and went straight to find his best friend, but his friend had just undergone surgery and was too weak to run, and he also had a younger brother with him. After hearing Joe's plan, the friend decisively refused the invitation to escape, because he believed that he and his little brother would only drag Joe down. With no other choice, Joe had to look for another partner to escape with him. To gather enough money for their escape, they began digging through the sewage pit in the bathroom by hand. Many Jewish women had thrown their jewelry into the pit earlier so the Germans wouldn't get it. Joe even pulled out a stack of francs covered in filth. Then the two of them slipped away to a corner while the guards were distracted. Their friends, meanwhile, gathered a few other kids and went to the harsh woman in charge of meals. Deliberately causing trouble to draw the guards' attention, Joe and his partner seized the chance, put on thick coats and wrapped scarves around their heads to avoid being cut by the barbed wire. Using all their strength, they slowly crawled under the wire fence. Then they ran with everything they had, not daring to stop for a single moment. Only when night fell did they stop running and hide in the forest to rest. The morning after their escape, the guards received orders to take the camp's children to see their mothers. The friend's brother, thrilled at the thought of seeing his mother, ran out first with his toy in his arms. He hurried toward the truck, full of joy imagining the moment he would reunite with her. But he didn't know that his mother had already turned into a wisp of smoke in the cremation furnace. The Jewish children were taken by the French police onto military trucks heading to the train station. They soon arrived, and before boarding, they were registered and had their identities checked. The children happily boarded the train, imagining reuniting with their parents, unaware that at the train's final stop, what awaited them were facilities that ran day and night without pause. As the doors closed and were locked shut, the final page of their destinies was written. The train packed with Jewish children soon passed by Joe, who was hiding nearby. Joe stood frozen as he watched the train roll past him and slowly disappear into the distance. Grief, anger and helpless despair surged through him. None of the 1,051 Jewish children on that train survived. Only Joe and his companion, who had escaped by chance, lived on. After the war, Joe was adopted by a Jewish couple who had lost their own child during the conflict. They treated him with great kindness, but for many years afterward, Joe never smiled again, because someone who has lived through deep suffering rarely finds it easy to walk out of the pain.